Why do I keep crying despite having money? This was the emotional confession of a 63-year-old person after reaching retirement. Throughout their life, they had tirelessly pursued wealth, ultimately achieving financial stability. However, in their eyes, there was a profound sadness, filled with regret, that no amount of money could dispel. When I was young, I didn't understand that there are things in life more valuable than money. Why didn't I discover this earlier? Now I wonder, what good is all this money? Upon hearing their story, I was left speechless. There are so many people who live thinking that money is everything, convinced that it can solve all problems, facing each day with that belief. But is it really true? Lately, I have heard similar confessions more frequently. I have money saved in the bank, but I feel an emptiness in my heart. I accumulated wealth, but in the process, I lost things that are too important. Now I understand that there are values far more significant than money. These stories are painful accounts of people who, unknowingly, left behind what truly matters in life. Perhaps, even at this very moment, many people are leaving valuable things behind in their pursuit of money, unaware of what they are losing. Could this be your case as well? Is it possible that priceless aspects of your life are slowly fading away? This message, in particular, is for those going through the golden years of their lives. Because there is still time. If you become aware of this now, you can fill the remaining days with a deeper and more meaningful purpose. I trust that this emotional confession from the elderly person, filled with tears, will mark a turning point in your life. Today, I want to share with you 7 lessons that, although not directly related to poverty, could make our old age much more challenging. These are not just simple recommendations but profound reflections that could permanently transform your life. Before continuing, don't forget to subscribe, like, and activate notifications. Now, let's explore these lessons. The first lesson is about health. For years, I saved money, but now I can't use that money to buy health, said an elderly man, as he held a package of medicines with trembling hands. He had just turned 60 and could no longer go a day without visiting the hospital. In his youth, he used to postpone medical checkups and dealt with discomfort by simply taking painkillers. Despite long working hours and constant stress, he always prioritized money over taking care of his health. Skipping breakfast, eating quickly at lunchtime, and having late dinners due to work became a daily routine. He never found time to exercise, and on weekends, exhausted, he would just rest. Unknowingly, this way of life gradually affected his health. Health, although intangible, can create a devastating poverty. With a sick body, accumulated money and dreams become meaningless. An elderly man shared how, after retiring, he and his wife had planned a trip to Jeju, a dream postponed for 30 years of hard work. However, a sudden knee arthritis forced them to cancel the trip, and that dream was irretrievably lost. I have money, but I can't walk. If only I had taken better care of my health when I was young, he said sadly. Another shared, when I was younger, money was something I urgently needed. That's why I worked 2 jobs, in the office by day and as a driver at night. I slept little and always felt exhausted. Thanks to that income, I now enjoy a more comfortable life, but I also have all the age-related diseases, diabetes, hypertension, high cholesterol, and I have to take many pills every day. To truly be rich, you need to accumulate both money and well-being. Older people who have lived successfully agree on this, while saving money, also take care of your health. Because if you lose your health, everything else crumbles. That's why, take a day off, rest, and take care of your body. What really makes a difference in how our old age will be are the habits we cultivate. In fact, people who enjoy a fulfilling and healthy old age share something in common: small daily habits. They saved 1001 every day, walked for 30 minutes, and even though they had pending tasks, they always respected their lunchtime. On weekends, they had a rule to go hiking in the mountains. When stress appeared, they took a walk in the park, making it a routine. These practices, which may seem trivial at first glance, accumulate and contribute to a healthier and happier old age. When we are young, we tend to think that health will always be on our side. However, when it begins to deteriorate, no amount of money can restore it to its previous state. No matter how much you have in your bank account, if your body is sick, it is hard to find true happiness. Could you be sacrificing your well-being for money right now? Are you ignoring the signs of exhaustion and stress your work is sending you? Do you find yourself thinking, when this project is done, I'll start exercising, or, next month, I'll start eating healthier? These thoughts gradually affect our health, but in a silent way. Health is our most valuable asset, even more than money. What have you done today for your well-being? What actions could you start taking tomorrow? The time to care for this treasure is now. The second lesson is about the time spent with family. I used to believe that money was the most important thing, so even when I had the opportunity to be with my loved ones, I preferred to work. I did it on weekends and during holidays, convinced that it was all for the well-being of my family. However, one day, the trembling voice of an older man made me reflect: now that my children are grown, they no longer seek me out. Relationships had cooled so much that family gatherings only happened on special occasions. One day, I realized something: my bank account was full, but I felt empty. When I looked through the family album, I felt a deep loneliness seeing that there were almost no photos. I don't remember ever going on a picnic with my family, and I was always too busy to celebrate my wife's birthdays. That's why there are no records of those moments. This is not just the experience of one person. Recently, I met a woman named Park Jungja, who shared the following with me: I worked all my life. My children were raised by their grandmother. Now, looking back, I realize I wasn't there for my children's first steps, their first sports competitions, or their early graduations. Those moments were lived by their grandmother, and that time will never return. So, what was all that money for? Another man shared: it was when I was told I had cancer. I wanted to move to a bigger hospital, but I couldn't afford to miss work. In the end, my wife had to face her illness without my support. I couldn't even visit her as I should have. I always thought I had to keep working to cover medical expenses, but in reality, it was just an excuse. When she passed away, I wasn't there. He couldn't continue speaking. Time with family is like an hourglass. Once the grains fall, they can never be regained. A child's first achievements, your partner's anniversaries, or your parents' moments of health are instances that money cannot bring back. How many times have you postponed phrases like, "Dad, tomorrow is my competition, please come, honey, can we go out this weekend," or, "Son, if you have a moment, come visit me." In a nursing home, an 88-year-old woman told me, going through financial difficulties was tough for a while, but the loneliness of not having a family is something that lasts a lifetime. The memories I have of my moments with my family in my youth have become true treasures. The photos we took back then are now my most prized possession. How many hours does your day have? How much time do you dedicate to being with your family throughout the week? Thinking, when I have more time, when I make a little more money, or, after retirement, might be stealing the most valuable moments of your life. Several older people I met told me something I will never forget: money can be earned again, but time cannot. Take advantage of the time with your loved ones while you can. That is what truly means being rich. Why not enjoy a dinner with your loved ones tonight? Or maybe add a new memory to the family album this weekend. A life rich in moments with family can be much more valuable than a wallet full of money. The third lesson is about genuine connections. A wallet full of business cards is now empty. Although in the past I had hundreds of contacts, when I got sick, I could barely remember who I could call. An elderly man, with a wistful smile, told me, when I was young, I didn't understand it. At meetings, everyone would pat me on the back and call me brother, but they were really only interested in my money or my contacts. When I retired, they stopped calling me. During my hospitalization, after 30 years of work, almost no one came to visit me. Before continuing, remember to like the video if you're enjoying it, and subscribe to the channel for the best advice on how to attract abundance and prosperity into your life. Let's move on. Only 2 people came to visit me in the hospital. The loneliness left by superficial relationships is an experience many know. A retired man I spoke to recently told me. We were part of a golf group. We met twice a month, always. Although we mainly did it for professional reasons, after more than 10 years together, I thought we were real friends. But when my business collapsed, everyone stopped talking to me, as if they had decided that in advance. Here is an even more touching story. I used to have dinners every night. At that time, I thought that was how to manage my relationships. I stopped having dinners with my family to be at those meetings. But now, reflecting, I think it would have been better to find a true friend and have an honest conversation. The camaraderie of a night of drinks completely fades away the next day. A younger colleague shared something with me that also surprised me. The day the boss retired, he was always someone with great presence and charm. However, on his last day, I saw him sitting alone in his empty office. Those who used to say they had a close relationship with him were too busy and didn't even take the time to say goodbye. That's when I understood that relationships built around a position vanish as soon as that position no longer exists. Superficial relationships are like a matter of statistics: the number of business cards exchanged, the number of social events attended, or the number of followers on social media. However, what really matters is not those numbers. A true friend is someone who shows up at your door when you go through difficult times, someone who keeps calling you by your name even when you have no money or status. An older man shared something that has stayed with me. People who enjoy a fulfilling retirement usually have a couple of lifelong friends. I have a friend with whom I meet every month, and we've been doing this for over 30 years. Our friendship started in a neighborhood library, and today it is stronger than my relationship with my own family. Some people share their experiences. Every weekend, I meet with a group of friends in the park. We are all retired, but we've created a small world that fills us with joy. You don't need to spend large amounts of money to have a good time together. Now, look at your phone. Of all those contacts, how many would be willing to answer a call in the middle of the night? Who would be by your side when facing a major loss? In the later years of life, what really keeps us strong is not superficial relationships, but sincere friendships. What we really seek are not more acquaintances, but people with whom we can be authentic. Why not call that special friend today? A key reflection is about the passage of time. In our youth, time seems to pass slowly. We think retirement is still far away, as if it's 20 or 15 years off. However, when we look back, we realize that time has passed quickly, like grains of sand slipping through an hourglass. An elderly man opened an old notebook on his desk. Inside, There was a list of goals he had written when he was young. I'll do it when I'm 60. I'll start after retirement. But he had postponed so many things that, by the time he reached that age, he no longer had the energy or drive to achieve them. Many of those goals had already become unreachable. An older man told me, I always dreamed of learning to play the piano with my wife. That was our plan for when we retired. But when I finally stopped working, she had already passed away. Now, every time I see a piano, I feel a deep sadness. Why didn't I start back then? Why did I put it off? Another man shared his story. My father loved mountaineering. Every weekend, he invited me to go with him, but I was always busy. I thought, after I finish this project, when I get the promotion, when I finish this work. And before I knew it, it was too late. My father is already quite old, so he can't climb mountains like he used to. Even now, on weekends, when I see the mountains, I can't help but think of him, and tears fall. The passage of time is truly strange. When we are young, it seems to never end, but at some point, when you look back, you realize how fleeting it has been. Mr. Carl Smith, after his retirement, expressed the following: the change from 30 to 40 didn't impact me much, nor did reaching 50. However, when I turned 60, everything started to feel more urgent. There are so many things I want to do, but fewer and fewer that I can actually do. That was when I realized that time waits for no one. A grandmother I met in a nursing home shared her greatest regret: if there's something you want to do it while you still can. Don't put it off until tomorrow. I spent my whole life holding back, saving money, keeping up appearances, worrying about what others would think. I kept putting things off until I realized there was no time left for anything. Time waits for no one. At this very moment, time continues to move forward. How many of the things you've always wanted to do are you still putting off? We often say, I'll do it later, when I have more time or feel ready. But that later may never come. Although advances in medicine have increased our life expectancy, the period in which we can enjoy good health and activity is actually surprisingly short. What we put off until tomorrow could become something we never do. Take a moment and think, what dreams are you still postponing? What if you start today, even with a small step toward them? Another fundamental lesson has to do with financial independence in old age. An elderly man shared his experience: I had 50 million won in my account. I thought it was a considerable amount. However, then I had to spend 20 million on medical expenses and 10 million on dental treatments. In an instant, I almost had nothing left. That was when I realized what it really means to be ready for retirement. With a tone of regret, he expressed, "You can't count on your children. They have their own responsibilities and commitments. It's not fair to expect them to bear the financial burdens of their parents too." I realized that maintaining dignity in old age depends on being financially independent. Mrs. William, 78, who lives in a nursing home, said something I will never forget: "When I was young, I didn't understand it, but as I got older, I realized that not having resources doesn't just mean living in poverty, but also losing your pride." Being a grandmother who can't even offer a small tip to her grandchildren is a pain that can't be measured in economic terms. Another senior shared his experience: "I spent a month living at my son and daughter-in-law's house. During that time, I was overwhelmed by a constant feeling of guilt and not belonging there. I managed to rent a small room, but my income is so limited that every night I worry about how I'll cover the expenses. Now I regret not preparing better when I was younger, though there's no going back." Financial independence is not just about meeting daily needs but also about preserving dignity, strengthening family bonds, and enjoying a good quality of life. The story of Mrs. Kim Soonja, 73, is an encouraging example. Since I was 40, I ran a small noodle business. I never made a lot of money, but I always saved steadily. Now, I can give small tips and occasionally visit the beauty salon with my daughter-in-law. Even though it's not much, the ability to spend it because I earned it with my own effort makes me feel deeply grateful. On the other hand, there are stories filled with pain. Once I had to be hospitalized and didn't have health insurance. My children had to gather money to pay for my expenses. Hearing people say things like, "What exemplary children," broke my heart. Is there anything more devastating than feeling like a burden to those you love? Financial independence in old age is not just about the financial aspect. It is also deeply connected to self-esteem, family dynamics, and respect for our own dignity. How much are we putting off without considering that time doesn't stop? If we want to avoid situations that might lead us to say things we'll regret to our children, it's essential to start taking action today. Those who live a fulfilling and financially independent retirement share certain characteristics. Even if their income is modest, they receive it consistently. They have a reserved fund for emergencies. They are prepared to cover health-related costs. It's more valuable to save regularly, even if it's just 10,000 won, than to try to accumulate 1 million all at once. Don't burn out chasing huge profits. What matters is planning steadily and practically, especially when it comes to health expenses. This is crucial. If you start organizing after facing an illness, it will already be too late. Let's think, how prepared are you for retirement right now? How do you envision the future you want? Starting with small steps today could be the effort necessary to ensure a dignified life in old age. Reflection on postponed dreams. Once, I met a 76-year-old man at a community center. He told me how, since he was young, he had wanted to learn to play the piano while enjoying classical music, imagining he could play some of those compositions. However, he always found excuses. He didn't have money, time, or felt he was too old. Now he realizes those were just excuses, and what he really lacked was courage. A touching story is of a carpenter who always had a passion for painting. However, comments like, "Painting? You barely have time to get by," led him to give up that dream. Years later, he enrolled in a painting class, where the instructor praised his natural talent, making him regret wasting 5 decades without following his passion. I also remember someone who wanted to learn English. During a work trip, he felt embarrassed not being able to communicate without an interpreter. However, he waited 3 decades before trying, and now, with a weakened memory, regrets not starting much earlier. An older man said an unforgettable phrase, "Do you know what it means to be young? It's not giving up on your dreams." What we regret most is not the lost money but the dreams we left behind. While money can be recovered, forgotten dreams are hard to reclaim. Dreams have no age limits. People who started new projects in later stages of life have motivating stories. One person learned to swim at 67 and is now an expert in several styles. Another opened a small pottery workshop and displays their creations. There's also someone who used their pension to open a cafe, finally fulfilling a dream they had been waiting for a long time. Dreams can be even grander when they arise in maturity, as they reflect a life full of experiences and learning. Thinking it's too late or that it's not suitable for our age only limits our aspirations. A 93-year-old woman shared, "It's impossible to say one has lived without regrets, but what matters is that the biggest regret isn't not having tried." Inner serenity, the true most precious good. During youth, many of us live fast-paced lives, full of worries and anxiety about reaching our goals. However, when reflecting on the past, those who achieved financial success often regret not having lived more calmly. A former high executive from a large company shared how, after suffering a heart attack, his doctor informed him that his health issue was caused by emotional stress. It was at that moment when he understood that he had neglected his mental well-being throughout his life. Every day, another man would look at himself in the mirror and say, "I have to do better. I need to be better than others." Now, with gray hair, he regrets not being kinder to himself. Inner peace is not achieved with money or fame. It is a state we must consciously cultivate. Just as we care for our physical health, it's also vital to care for our mind so that we don't reach old age burdened with more regrets than we truly need. What dreams do they hold in their hearts? What is holding them back? Perhaps today is the perfect day to take the first step. Among them are people with fortunes of billions of won and others who rely on basic social assistance. Despite this difference, they share something fundamental: they understood early on the importance of inner peace and constantly seek it. Every morning, upon waking, they look out the window, take 3 deep breaths, and reflect on 3 things they are grateful for. They also dedicate 10 minutes each night to meditation. Though it was difficult at first, today this moment has become the most satisfying part of their day. As they walk, they enjoy the birdsong and, in doing so, realize how unnecessary their impatience was when they were younger. These practices cultivated their inner peace. We often tell ourselves, "I must increase my income, I can't fall behind others, it's not enough yet." Could these thoughts be robbing us of our peace? A 93-year-old monk used to say, "True wealth is the one carried in the heart." A person with an empty heart, even with many possessions, will always feel restless and dissatisfied. On the other hand, someone with a full heart knows how to appreciate what they have, no matter how little. That is the true secret to happiness. In this very moment, do you feel that your heart is at peace? Do you spend at least 5 minutes daily taking care of your mind? Perhaps what we really need is not to accumulate more, but to discover a deeper and fuller inner peace. Where is your mind headed right now? Reflect on a small action you can begin today to reach that authentic peace. This is one of the 7 teachings shared by a 63-year-old man, who meditated. "I thought money solved everything, but in the end, the most valuable things cannot be bought with it." This was his final message after a life of reflection. Often, we only come to understand the essentials of our health when we no longer have it, the importance of family when it is no longer there, the true value of friendship when a friend moves away, and the importance of time once it has passed. Similarly, it is only when we lose our inner peace that we truly understand its deep meaning. If we can only realize these things after losing them, isn't that the greatest tragedy of life? The present is the most important moment. The people who accompany you and the actions you can take right now are the most valuable things you have. Before time passes, why not take our health seriously, spend time with our loved ones, nurture authentic relationships, move toward our goals, and seek inner serenity? We still have time. Everything can begin right now. Therefore, I make a request: call your loved ones right now, spend the evening with them after leaving work early. Starting tomorrow, begin walking for 10 minutes a day. Take that first step, even if it is small, toward that dream you've been putting off. Life is not eternal, but if we begin now, we can still create transformations full of joy. May each day be filled with moments without regrets. I hope to continue sharing more life lessons. I invite you to leave your valuable stories in the comments. If this message resonated with you, don't forget to subscribe, like, and activate notifications so it reaches more people. Share it with those you value the most. I sincerely wish you a fuller life filled with well-being. Thank you very much.